Alrighty. So as you can hopefully see, I have a little bit more high definition video recording stuff now, which is really cool. It costs some money, but I I think it's worth it here. Hold on, let me adjust here. Okay, so I want to review some games I played with my buddy Bruce. Bruce has been struggling a bit, and I mean, it's not totally unusual because you know, I'm the loser who's got no kid or anything like that to worry about, so I just have all this time to just study chess, and so it just gives me that unfair advantage, I guess. Again, I'm saying that as a compliment. Like, if I were, I honestly would rather be busy with dad duties than just like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna go play chess for a couple, an hour or so, and just yeah, that's life." So I guess I have that unfair advantage. But hey, that's a good thing to be busy with, being a dad. Yeah. So, but still, Bruce wants to. I know Bruce. I want to get better at chess, and I know Bruce wants to get better at chess. So I want to really help Bruce out here. These first couple games I played with Bruce was so I would start playing chess, and my idea was to just play as hard as you can, as best as you can, against everybody, and they lose, but they have to learn from those losses and figure out what they did wrong. Which is true, but at some point, it's always good to just help a brother out, help somebody out, just give them some kind of, you know, something, not in the sense that you feel sorry for them in like a, what a loser kind of way, but just like a, at a certain point, it's no longer just fun anymore, because you just can never get anything going. So what I decided to do is I was gonna just sort of give some pointers and tips for Bruce, and this is stuff for everybody. And I am nobody who is a pro. You can see my level there. It's only at 400. I think it's probably higher than that. I can easily play. I can easily beat bots, for instance, at the low levels. I can compete with the 1,000 level bots sometimes. So if I were to guess, it'd be around there. But again, I don't really play a whole lot of online chess. I usually just play, physical, person to person kind of stuff like that. I like that a lot more. I just don't really care for the online chess. So I just like the personal interaction a lot more. Now with my buddy Bruce, that's different, because we know each other well enough. We know each other very personally. So we've done a lot of cool things together. Ministry work, and it's been a lot of fun. But anyways. So I'm going to go through a couple games with Bruce here, and these are primarily for Bruce to learn, and also for Bruce to see my kind of thought process as I'm playing the game, what I'm looking for, how I use strategy and think about things. These are early on games, and by the way, firstly, I forgot to do this. Let me do this real quick here. I want to review one of our first games we ever played together. Um, let's see here. No, so it wasn't that one. We could also review this one. This would be a good one to review. I did beat Bruce pretty badly in this one. Whoops, nope, didn't want to do that one. I wanted to, in that game, I'll show you something, especially for you, Bruce, something that I did that is good for you to learn. But I'll look over one where Bruce beat me. So when we first started playing, Bruce beat me, and he beat me really bad in this one. Look at that, the piece comparison here, like the way his pieces are versus mine. All right, so we'll review that one. Put it through the analysis board. We're gonna put that one through the analysis board and close that window. So hopefully we can get through this fairly quickly. So let me start with the one that Bruce beat me. This is the one, right? Yes. He beat me fairly handily. You notice this bar here, by the way, for all of us new players. This bar right here, that's sort of the stockfish You know, it's a stockfish meter. It's basically telling you who's got better advantage, who's winning the game. You know, based on the computer's analysis. Man, sorry, excuse me. A little congested this morning. um, so right now, white when the game begins, white always has the advantage of plus 0.61. In other words, 0.6. White always has the advantage. The reason why white has the advantage is because white plays first. But the bar begins to shift depending on, you know, again, how the computer analyzes the structure of each player's pieces and stuff, you know. So, all right, so I always, when I first started playing, I started with the King's Pawn opening, and that's normal. King's Pawn opening is a very powerful opening, and it's a very standard, also very straightforward opening. It immediately grabs control of these important squares. And in the beginning of chess, in the beginning of the game, the point is trying to gain control of the center, gain advantage over the center, that stuff. And again, like you see me do with these arrows here, it allows these two pieces to come out. And if black isn't careful, he can get checkmated really quick. If I did, for instance, bishop right there, queen right here, and then right there, that would be checkmate, depending on what black does. Again. But so you can get checkmate pretty easily. So that's a very standard. Bruce does that. It does sort of the same thing, but it doesn't grab in as much control. You know, he doesn't really have any control over these two pieces here at this point. Well, yeah, a little bit actually. You know, now I think about it. So you know, it doesn't go immediately for center, but it still gains control in his own territory. I push the pawn forward here. Bruce begins to attack the pawn here. This is an old game. I don't remember exactly. A lot of things I did in this game, I don't even know what I was doing. I decided to defend my pawn. Bruce continues to attack again. So you'll notice every time in the opening, almost all the times in the opening, there is pressure put on some square, and this square is where the pressure is being put on right now. I decided to push for. That's actually a pretty good move that I did there. I went and attacked Bruce's knight, and Bruce moves the knight out of the way, avoiding danger from the pawn. Did kind of walk into danger with the knight here, and I decided not to take. But it was, yeah. I mean, it's not the best move for Bruce to make. You can see how Stockfish gave that favor to me, because I could have just I would have lost the knights, and that's what I was probably thinking at that time. I was thinking I didn't want to lose my knight, which is kind of silly, because if you don't move the knight, you can just lose it anyway. So, you know, there you go. But I decided not to do it, and decided to just continue to push this knight forward, even though he's really not attacking anything. He's doing a little, I mean, he's defending that, but nothing's attacking it right now. So Bruce begins to bring out a bishop. I bring out my bishop. Bruce takes my knight that I decided that I didn't want to lose, and I lost anyway. And I made probably a big blunder by moving my queen out here. Again, I could have just popped him out of there. Didn't do it. Bruce is defending the knight. He moves the knight to a place where it can be defended. You know, it's not a terrible move, but you are retreating, and that's why Stockfish gives me a little bit of room here. This is one of the things about defending pieces. You can defend pieces. It's usually a good thing, but it isn't always. Sometimes sacrificing a piece is a good move. Now I know he knows I'm not going to take his knight with the queen, because I'll just lose my queen. So I decided not to do it. He's attacking there, and I decide to. I don't know what I was. I guess I was thinking maybe I can. I mean, if I was thinking about defending the pawn, I could. She was defending the pawn right there. But you can tell already. I mean, look at this. I mean, what's he attacking? He's not attacking anything. He's, you know, attacking, but he's going to get immediately taken, and then that bishop's going to be looking down the eye of the queen right there, putting more pressure on my queen, who shouldn't be outside of this right now at this point, to be honest with you. He's not attacking anything. I mean, look at this weak lines right here that these guys are looking down, especially if I move my bishop right here. The queen can just come out and immediately take and check my king. Right here is, I can check his king, make him, hide in the corner there. But other than that, it's not really doing a lot. It's just very weak pieces I have here. All of my pieces, essentially. We're in a situation now. I'm in a situation where Bruce has primary control over the center because of some of the mistakes that I made. And now he begins to bring out his other knights. I decided to castle. Look at this, just this line right here of nothing moving forward, nothing, and I can't. There's really no advantage for me. So I decided to get a knight in here. I've been my rook in here, just try to put some pressure right there. I'm down a knight. I'm thinking to myself, all right, well, I'll get my queen over here, and maybe I can just start, maybe get right here, and then pin the knight to the king, maybe. I'm thinking. Bruce pushing down a pawn right there, and Bruce has a good idea here. I don't know why he doesn't continue to think like this, if this is what he's thinking. But right here, you push down these pawns, and I like to call it just a hailfire, where the pawns can come down and smash the king structure, the castle structure here. You can just really tear it to pieces, and then you can just bring in. You can look at the pawns as though they're like mortar fire or artillery fire. What's the point of artillery? Every time artillery, I guess that was my point here. Yeah, pin the knight. It's not really accomplishing much because, it keeps him from getting this, but you typically would pin a knight or a bishop to prevent the bishop from taking something as you're pushing something forward. What am I going to be able to push forward that knight wouldn't be able to take? Bishop right here. Well, the pawn can just take the bishop. So it's not the best. It does immobilize the knight, but that's about it. Anyways, as I was saying, artillery is usually designed to soften up defenses, and then the attack forces come in, kind of thing like that. So pushing this pawn up, it puts pressure on this pawn to take, but to take that, then my king is exposed right there. But for any kind of long range piece like the rook, maybe, basically the rook or the queen, essentially. So here comes Bruce's queen to challenge, as it were, my queen. And I made a big mistake here. This is where everything really started falling apart. And again, here's where Bruce is like, he's playing really well. Excuse me, I'm playing terribly, but he's also playing really well. It's one thing if I'm playing terribly and Bruce is playing kind of not great. But right here he's playing well. Like, he saw this immediately. If this was his initial point, I don't know what this was doing. I have no. Again, this is when I was really starting to play. When I was probably really a level 400, maybe a 200. So I didn't know what that was doing. I was doing nothing. I didn't see that, and then when I saw that, I panicked. See, this is what happens. What can happen in chess? You can panic and go, "Oh boy, he's undefended. He is defended, but Bruce isn't going to go for that one. His next target is going to be like this. He's forking this and this." Now that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, oh, he's doing that. So what I'll do is basically trap his queen. I'm thinking this. I'm thinking I'm going to trap his queen. Ah, ha, ha. This is what you get. But he's also looking at that right there. And that's undefended. Well, no, it's not undefended. Sorry. But here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of, just trapping the queen there. And this is the thing. Like, okay, so actually Bruce, he blunders slightly here because his queen is actually indirect fire. And this, when I saw this, when I saw Bruce take, again, I panicked. I could have taken with the queen. I would have lost my queen. But I could have also just taken with the knight. I did not even see that. Didn't even see it. So you see here, as I let this pawn get in, could have taken with my king. The thing is, I made a huge mistake because now the pawn's there. You have to take that pawn. You've got to get rid of that pawn because that pawn will take right there and promote. And you lose a rook. So I'm so focused on trapping that queen, and I got two problems here: this queen and this pawn. That's not a good situation you want to find yourself. Look at that. He promotes. I'm forced to take, and I don't realize there's a checkmate coming right there because that knight right there. See, again, I was in a situation. Why didn't I take the knights? I should have been seeing all this stuff coming when that pawn's coming down this way. Especially again when this pawn's coming down, I'm thinking, all right, I'm gonna try to see if I can put some pressure on Bruce and force him to go on defense. But this is one of those situations. It's a gamble. It's also basically a bluff. So you can do these kinds of things by trying to put pressure on your opponent who's on a clear attack advantage and you are not. And you can try to. This works on beginners. You can bluff them into thinking, oh, I'm under attack, and so they can pull back their pieces when they weren't really under attack. When when you're playing the game, you don't see the stockfish bar, but when in the analysis board, you can see it. And it's very clear right now. You can see black has a 6.7% advantage. That's a huge advantage. And so I wasn't really, I had no actual attack. And whether Bruce saw that or not and just called the bluff and just continued to pour on pressure, I don't know. But, again, that rook move wasn't a very good move. I mean, it wasn't a terrible move because if the queen takes, he's protected by his other rook. I would lose a rook, but I get a queen. Right there, and this was an excellent move for Bruce. It would have been better, maybe, if I had just taken with the rook, and I blundered by taking with the king, which led to my checkmate. Because if I took with the rook, let's say I took with the rook instead, and Bruce can right there, but just take like that, and then I'm safe for now, but still I've just lost a ton of pieces right there. He's still up 4 points. He's got both of my rooks. I've lost both of my rooks. He's still got 2 of his rooks. See, this is the thing. Also, one of the things is your queen doesn't automatically win you the game. Bruce doesn't need his queen right now to win. My queen is still paralyzed. She can't do anything here. She is just stuck. All that she can do basically at this point in the game is just pin that knight. I would have to bring her back here and come over here to exploit a weakness there. Like that. That's 1, 2, 3 turns, and a lot can happen in 3 turns. So he still has the clear advantage of that one. So, yeah, like I said, I lost that one really badly. Now we come to, what's this one? Yes, this game. This game right here. Around this time, I was starting to learn some more things. So I'm just going to kind of speed through the openings here because the openings kind of pretty standard. At this point in the game, when he played here, Bruce played here. He did this to me twice in 2 games. I just kicked the knight out. I moved my knight in. Do the same thing to him. He could have just done the same thing to me and kicked my knight out if he wanted to. Now, what I would have done if he did that is I would have done maybe this, so that if he takes, I might just go ahead and push the pawn forward. I keep pushing him forward and potentially get a pass pawn. But anyways, this is where Bruce really starts making a big mistake. His queen's coming out right here in this game. I attack the queen. I move her he moves her out of danger. And she's kind of attacking the knight. The problem is the knight's protected. And I don't know if Bruce is hoping that I was going to see that and go, oh, I got to save my knight and move my knight. But I wasn't. I was like, why would I move my knight? You're going to lose your queen. You're going to lose this trade battle. If you took with your knight, I could take with the pawn. And then what are you going to take with your queen? Because I'll just take with the bishop. I'm going to win this. I just have more control over here. This is a game where one of Bruce's big mistakes is he doesn't develop his pieces. He loses tons of pieces in this game. I mean, he does lose pretty badly in this game. He loses a ton of pieces before they can even get into the action. And it's just really no way you can win at this point. So I move my queen here. And the reason why I move my queen right here is because I'm looking at this right here. You'll notice these pieces here pretty much aren't. There's a good way to break this structure up into tiny little pieces, and it all depends on getting this guy out of the way. Reason why is because I want to take that pawn, especially given that he's protected, so I can check his king. The problem is I had to get through this knight right here. And that knight, if my queen moves there, I'm going to lose my queen instantly to the pawn. So my queen needs to get right there, not right there. How am I going to do this? All right, so here's Bruce's queen right here. before I do any of that, I realize, oh, I got a structural weakness here. Again, you see the stockfish. I have 8.7 advantage at this point. So I notice a structural weakness here. Puts a lot of pressure. It doesn't do much other than that. Because you can't take the bishop. You just lose, boom, right there. So that's. I mean, he could sacrifice his queen and take a bishop, but it's not a great trade. But I'm going to go ahead and just defend this whole thing. So right now, with this simple little pawn move, I have blocked this queen's attack. Her best move maybe would be something right here, but then I can just move my bishop right there. And basically moving my bishop right here, so let's say Bruce did this. I'd move my bishop right there. So that bishop is now guarding these squares. So the queen, if she goes right there, she gets lost. She goes right here, she gets lost. She goes right here, she's lost. She takes, she's lost. So she's basically out, but he backs her up right there. And she's pinning this pawn, but I don't really care. There is no attack. He has no attack because this queen is out here by herself. She's not being supported by anything like he did, like you saw in his last game right here. The reason why the queen is powerful right here is because she's got support from a knight. Why I didn't take, I don't know. That was a big blunder on my end. But right here, it's very different. This pawn is stuck. He can't go anywhere. And the queen has no other support. None. You could bring a knight out and just, start looking at, right there. That's when I'd start getting concerned. There you go. All right, so what I decided to do, like I said, I had to get rid of this pawn right here. This pawn had to go. And the way I did it was I sacrificed a knight. And then, again, this is, for Bruce and for all of us, this is part of the game. Sacrificing pieces, giving up pieces. That was a strong knight, but he was better sacrificed. And that whole point of that was for Bruce to go for the bait, take the knight. In reality, he broke his defense into pieces. And so I had my queen set up ready to do that as soon as that pawn moved right there, because now there's nothing attacking my queen. I also have a bishop as an added defense right here on this pawn. So if Bruce was, again, right now, if you're Bruce and you're thinking, like, if you're really thinking through this, you're under attack. You're under a serious amount of pressure right now. So what you need to do is you need to go on the attack. You need to remove, as best you can, some of the supports of the queen. So maybe going after this bishop right here, possibly could help you with that. You got to really start thinking about how you're going to get out of this. Maybe move your king out of the way. That you could do that. So Bruce moves his rook because I don't know if he's thinking that I'm looking to take the rook. Not really what I was thinking. I was thinking about the check right here. And the simple fact of the matter is that rook is just done for. There's nothing you can do to save that rook. It's just gone. So I decided to take the rook. Bruce further moves his king out of the way. I take his bishop there. His entire king side just collapses. It just fell apart. Bruce takes my pawn, but this is where I can demonstrate how control of the center. I don't know exactly what this pawn move was thinking. Maybe he was thinking about getting it down here and just adding more pressure here, but it doesn't really mean much. I'm just going to go ahead and take that pawn. Whoops. Taking that pawn sets up the potential. It set up a potential checkmate right there. Fortunately for Bruce, maybe he didn't realize this, is he actually prevented that from happening. That was a sort of silly move for me. I should have just gone ahead and take the bishop. This is one thing, again, Bruce doesn't... You got to be careful for this. When you make a move like this, you have to be thinking about... Like, if I did this, I would just be thinking about maybe right there. Possibly. Because when Bruce does this, he just basically hung his bishop. These are things you got to be thinking about before you make your moves. So here goes this knight. Doing this knight now allows the rook to come out because you got to get this rook into the game. You're in a desperate situation. You got to get the rook into the game. I decided I could have protected my bishop because my bishop's like hanging out there. He's totally hung. Um, uh, and so I could have protected with the queen. I decided to protect with my knight instead, because the knight not only protects the bishop, also prevents the rook from moving right here. Um, it just limits his options on where he can go. Literally, this square is the only place he can go, and that is exactly where. Well, he can go here, but that is exactly where Bruce puts it. Now, here's a problem. You see this formation, this pattern formation right here? This potentially can be a fork. You got to be careful for that. You know, when you're thinking about putting two pieces next to each other, ask yourself the question. One of the things to ask yourself, because knights can fork very powerfully. Are the two pieces that are together close to each other on the same color squares? If they're on the same color squares, you need to from there you need to think about, can they be forked? Like, right there, they can be forked from right here. If I get a knight right there, they can get forked. So it's the same thing with this right here. Can this be forked? This one can't be, but at least not by a knight. But anyways, so Bruce decides to attack my queen, but that doesn't really. You needed to protect the pawn right there, and you've abandoned it. So I decided to take the pawn, check the king. Now this here, not a terrible move. Actually, pretty interesting move. Now the problem with the move is, firstly, it pins the rook, so the rook can't do anything now. Obviously, I'm not going to take with my queen because I'll lose my queen. But again, notice the squares. They're on the same color, fork. And there goes your rook. Just like that. And fork, and you're forced back into the corner. Now, at this point in the game, I could be sitting here thinking, I can go, oh, look, there's checkmate right there. Not really. Boom. And if I did that, then, then I'm in serious trouble. So, like, if I went like this, check, boom, check, like that. And then hanging knight, hanging bishop, Bruce could potentially get back into the game. So I realized that and decided that queen has to go. So I figured put my bishop there for added defense in this little area. It's a nice fortress. I knew, and also right there, it was just had this powerful line right here, this bishop. And so I knew that's going to come in handy at some point in the game, I'm pretty sure. And here it is. It comes in handy. Attack the queen. I force his queen to make a move. The only saving move for the queen was to, I think, what was I thinking? Like right there, something like that. Now my queen is forced to was it right there? Not really, I guess. I mean, because then at this point you can just right there, yeah. Because then if the queen was right there, you can. I mean, either way you can take. But and if my queen decides to remove, then I'd lose her right there. So the only saving move was to move his queen right there. But again, I wonder if Bruce was just so hell-bent on saving his own queen, he forgot the actual objective is to save the king. Sometimes giving up your queen is required to save the king. And he blunders badly, which loses him the game. He moves his queen right there. And then I can just, there's checkmate. And that's how I won that game. So, all right, so what's this one right here? Okay, so this one is another more recent game, openings kind of thing right here. The game is pretty even at this point. Now the game gives Bruce an advantage in this game. And then Bruce does it again. That's where he does it again. I kick the knight out and then move my bishop right there. Bruce pins my knight to my queen. Push up right there, attack, and then I kick his knight out again. I decided to move my queen out of the way of the pin. And you can see how Bruce is winning right now. He's winning and I'm losing. But we're at a point in the game where it's just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Bruce attacks my knights. I'm like, I don't really care. Because if you take my knights, it's not a very strong knight. If you take my knight, where's your queen going to go? She's can't go there, can't go there, can't go there, can't go there. So there's really nowhere for her to go. She's in a really poor spot right I take, he takes, I take. That was a good move by Bruce. He forced me to have to take with my queen. Not something I was intending to do. And now his queen's in a really good situation. His queen's in a pretty powerful position right now, just sitting right there, just sitting there and waiting for an opportunity to open up. Now at this point in the game, this is where I started thinking, there's a checkmate right there. If I can just get rid of that knight, there's a checkmate right there, because this guy, he's blocked. He can't go anywhere. He can't go anywhere. So this king is literally stuck right there. So if I can move my rook right here and prevent the king from going anywhere by then moving my bishop out of the way, the king is stuck right there, and all I got to do is get my queen in position, set up a battery right here, and then boom, there's checkmate. That's what I was thinking at this point in the game. That was my plan. All right, so Bruce starts pushing up right here. Again, this is where you look out for forks. Bruce missed, and I'm so glad he did, because it's like when I made my next move, I was like panicking. Bruce missed, and it arguably cost him the game. Excuse me. Missed a fork right there. That fork was beautiful because it was forking the king and the queen. I would have lost my queen, and there was nothing that could have attacked my king. I was forced to move my king because he's in check. Now, what the reason why I didn't go for the immediate check, I should have, but I didn't go for the immediate check, is because I just was sort of distracting. I was hoping to distract Bruce, make him think that trying to confuse him, because I didn't want him to think that the actual checkmate was right there, looking right at that, like that. But again, I had to get rid of that knight right there, so, I could do that, but the queen could just bloop, and then the queen's looking down at that, and that wouldn't be good. So Bruce decides to just go ahead and get rid of it for me, and just continue to attack. See, I go for the check like that. He blocks. That's a good block right there. Then you see me do this. When you see me do this, you got to start thinking, oh boy, what's he up to? What's going on here? And this is one of the reasons why Bruce lost this game, is Bruce is really centrally focused on what he is doing. He's not thinking about what I'm doing. He's thinking, look at this. I got a queen and a knight right here. I mean, they're uncontested. The queen's contesting that, but Bruce is thinking, he's not going to take that. He's going to lose his queen. Why would he do that? And kind of like that. And if I was going to take that anyway, I would have just taken right there instead of move my queen right here. Why would you move your queen right there and then take? It's a stupid move. So what you got to be thinking, if you're Bruce, if you're thinking critically, is going, if he does that instead of that, he's up to something. What's he up to? I'm up to that right there. All I need is one move. I'm delayed that because I get checked. Force my king to move right there. And did you see the bar? Did you see how quickly? Just like that. Mate in one. That's M1 means mate in one. Because it was going to be mate in one. Bruce is going, oh, there's my check. It's not really a checkmate because you're going to lose it anyway. And there you go, checkmate. So that's why. So the lesson we learn in this game is you have to be aware of what your opponent is doing. When you see this and you notice, again, I think Bruce just got so tunnel visioned right here. He does it in the next game I'm going to show you. So tunnel vision, not the next game actually, that he just forgot what was going on up here. And again, this is one of the things for Bruce. The action may be in your mind right down here, but this is all the action. It's all of this. You have to be focused on everything going on over here. And Bruce I think what happens for Bruce is he gets focused on that so much, on what he's doing down here. He even forgets he's got pieces up here that are just not even in the game. He's got a bishop here. He can't do anything. He never does anything the entire game, and that's not a good thing. You don't want to do that. You want to get that bishop involved. You want to get all your pieces, as much pieces as possible, involved in the game. So, there you go. So, this game right here was a wild one. This was so silly. These are standard book moves. And then I did that. I don't know what I was thinking when I did that. I was just thinking, let's just see what happens. Bruce moves his knight right there, and then you get the question mark. Question mark is like, what? It's like, well, what are you doing? So when I did the reason why this is weird, because the fight usually is supposed to be for the center, but the fight ended up being something over here. Why? I don't really know. I move my knight right there, and Bruce is thinking, because I move my knight right there, Bruce moves his pawn right here because he's thinking I'm going to take one of these two. And so Bruce is thinking I'll just take back like that. But that's not what I was going to do. So pushing forward right there, kicks my knight out, and then I could just counterattack right there. But I again, want to see what I'm doing with this knight. What am I doing with this knight? Really nothing terribly interesting right now. I'm just getting him into the game. This is the thing you got to think about, just getting pieces into the game. Move my bishop out again, just getting him into the game. That's all I'm doing. This is a good move for Bruce, because this bishop's kind of looking at this right here, and this move kind of locks him in there. So I can't move, and then, boop, right there. I also can't go right here, because then, blip, also, you can just take with that. But that's a pretty good move for Bruce. Attacking my bishop, forcing my bishop to retreat. Then the machine considers this a blunder. That's a blunder as well. There's a check. I mean, it's a check, but it doesn't really accomplish anything. I don't know exactly what Bruce thinks about when he does a lot of his checks. I'm not sure exactly. I'll show you in the next game that we play. Our most recent game. I don't know what the checks are doing. They don't. Again, checking the king is obviously a good thing to do sometimes. Not always. It's not always a good thing to do. So, let's go back to that check. The machine calls it a great move. I'm not sure exactly why, to be honest with you. I don't see why it's a great move. It makes my king move, sure, but doing what? Now you've got a fairly weak knight right here. He's not very strong. There's a blunder. Bruce and I are just blundering left and right. So I move my king to kind of attack. Now, even though he wasn't very strong, he is kind of, he's in a good spot right here. I'll just say that. He's in a good spot. He's looking at this right here, right there. Especially right there. There's a fork right there. And I can't take with my king because his knight right here. So it's actually not a terrible knight. It's actually in a pretty good situation. Again, if Bruce had the wherewithal to notice things like this, he could have gone, hey, let's just go take that. Because here's the thing. Let me just say it like this. Chess is not always about taking the king. And you gotta go, what? Isn't that the whole point of the game? That's the essential point of the game. But when you're starting the game, it's like you have objectives that you have to, it's like, again, I always think in military terms or military analogies. The primary objective in World War II for the Allies in France was the liberation of France. So the liberation of France is kind of the primary objective in the Normandy landings. However, to get to that are a bunch of smaller objectives that they had to do. They had to take the beaches and secure a beachhead. They had, and just move from town to town, gaining territory after territory after territory. And then after that, of course, is the big one, which is Berlin. But see, to get to all of that, there are all these smaller objectives that they had to accomplish. So think of that in chess. The primary objective is to get to the king. However, before you even think about that in the beginning of the game is the other objectives. We must gain control of the center. Depending on how the board sets up or develops, your objectives begin to shift. Your primary objectives begin to shift. Depending on how the board develops. So at this point in the game, Bruce has no checkmate. So what you're thinking about doing, what you should be thinking about doing, is how to destroy your opponent's own structure and just wreak havoc upon it. So you got to be thinking about it, so I'm pointing all this out because I wonder if Bruce sometimes just thinks, I got to get the king, how can I get the king as quickly as possible? And he just blunders moves. He makes these one move blunders that hang pieces, and he doesn't coordinate his pieces very well. I'm not trying to say this because I'm trying to just, knock you or anything like that, but just trying to help, just help you understand the way the game is supposed to be played so that you can be better. You can be a better chess player, and think about things like this. to think about again in the main objective, but then the smaller objectives along the way. So, anyways, going too long there, but just think about it in that sense. That's how I'm thinking when I make my plans. I'm going, at the beginning of the games, unless I see a possibility for an actual checkmate, my objective simply is to strengthen my structure while destroying my opponent's structure. And the more I do that, then the checkmates begin to open up. So he moves out right there. He should have. You see the machine recommends that right there. I mean, it was just a nasty fork. When you do that fork, not only is it, I mean, you do that. So we do this. Let's say Bruce actually, boom, right there, fork, oof. I can only save one piece. Now, obviously, I'm going to save my queen. I might move my queen right there, and then you take the rook, which actually would have been a bad idea because then now that knight can get away. But right there, see how it says is best? It's the best move. It's a sweet move because it's a fork. It's a nasty fork. I would just move my queen right here, and then what do you do at this point if you're white? You take that rook, dude. You take it. You're gonna lose the knight, yes, but it's a sacrifice to get a better piece. Look at this. Now you're up 2 pieces. You've taken out a rook, and you forced my queen into a blundered situation. Like what the heck? Like what's she doing out here in the corner like this? She's doing nothing over here. So again, that's what we're talking about, weakening the structures and stuff like that. But what Bruce does is he pulls back his knight, like that. And then it's considered a blunder because, I'm just sort of contesting it because I'm planning on, I think what I'm doing is I'm planning on take, and then potentially take. I might sacrifice my rook and take that. But so let's say, I don't know, Bruce does that. I could take, and then take like that. I would lose the rook, but the point of doing this, the reason why I would do this is I would kind of I'd be isolating the king, and kind of trying to get him more and more drawn away from his own pieces. That'd be kind of the idea there, but it doesn't go that way. I take right there, and then Bruce checks right there, and again, what Bruce doesn't, what I did right here, and Bruce didn't see again because he's not paying attention for these things, is remember what I said? Notice this pattern, 2 pieces like this, like the rook and the king, and I'm frankly the queen too, on the same color squares like this. That's a fork, and you notice that the machine says, "Do it." See how it's saying, "Go for the fork, do it," and he doesn't do it. Instead, he does that. He does fork, but he doesn't see. Oh, because again, Bruce is thinking, I gotta save my pieces. I gotta keep my pieces preserved as much as possible. Not always. It's not always the case. You're gonna lose pieces. You're going to lose pieces. That's just the reality of the matter. You're gonna lose them. No matter, it's just gonna happen. Sacrifice your pieces. Again, go back to this one right here. Go back over here. See how I sacrificed a knight in order to get him out of the way. And you're thinking, but you gave up a knight. Yeah, and I won the game. So you think about your opportunities here. Giving up a piece in order to get a sweet deal. That's the whole point. That's how you want to start looking at the game. But Bruce is like, oh no, I'm under, then he takes the rook. At that point, he takes the rook. But at this point, the game is, look how it swung in my favor. It says I can get a mate in 2. Let's see how I could have gotten a mate in 2. Whoops. Didn't want to do that. Why can't he must be pinned. Is he pinned by something? It won't let me move him. All right, well, anyways. Not sure how I can get a mate in 2. That's interesting. Maybe. Well, hold on. Oh, because it was Bruce's move. Interesting. I wonder how you would get a mate in two. uh, Look at that, how it just show moves. Interesting. All right. Well, let's just go back to the game. How it actually turned out. And I made a big mistake here. Even though this was the machine says this is a great move, I thought it was a mistake. I was thinking in one move bursts at this point. You don't ever want to think like that. I've seen Bruce do that numerous times. One move bursts. And don't think about the consequences of the move. Because I'm thinking, oh, look, there's a free knight right there. No consequence to me. The fact is, there was a consequence. And this is where Bruce starts thinking. He actually starts to think. Like, maybe Bruce is thinking, well, this knight's trapped. There's nowhere he can go. If he goes here, he's lost. Which he's not really. I'm not gonna lose my queen to that. He goes here, he's lost. If he did that, I would take it. If he goes here, he's lost. He goes here, he's lost. He goes here, he's lost. But Bruce maybe thinking, and if he stays there, he's lost. Which again, I'm not going to do that. I'm actually not going to take that knight because I'm going to lose my queen to a stupid thing. And not only that, like, well, yeah, then I would move my rook right there. But so maybe Bruce is thinking, well, because my knight is now trapped and lost, my attack has been thwarted. I guess what I'll do is I will might as well just take what I can get. And he does that. And that's a good way to think, I think, anyway. I know it's considered a blunder, but he took out a rook. So, but here, notice again, Bruce does the same thing he did in this last game right over here, that he lost. He got so focused on what these pieces were doing, he forgets, I got a bunch of other pieces here. If I get these into the game and coordinate my pieces, again, that's another part of the game. You're coordinating your pieces. Once you do that, you're putting pressure on your opponent. And the only way you can really do that, honestly, the only way you can coordinate pieces is if you're starting to think ahead. You're thinking 3-4 moves ahead. And that's one of the problems for Bruce is he's not really doing that a whole lot. He's just kind of, again, one move bursts. He's also thinking just sort of about, he gets a couple pieces over here, and then he just starts moving those pieces. And then he forgets all of this going on. He's got so much up here. He's got to get into the game. You notice how my pieces are kind of scattered about. They're not in the best structure at all, but they are kind of moving. I did trap my bishop right here. It wasn't good, and I was constantly thinking about, I got to get this bishop into the game. I don't know how to do it. But anyways, that's what Bruce does. See what goes on over here. Like just look at this. Let me just show you here. I'll move kind of quickly so you can kind of get an idea, maybe an idea of how Bruce is doing this. How he just gets so focused in on. He's just so focused on using his knights. He's got a bishop right there, but look at these knight moves. See the pattern here with these knight moves? Let's go back again. Every single move is with these pawns and these knights from this point. You know why? Because he's getting tunnel visioned on this area right here. That's all that's happening. And because of that, he's structurally in a good, like Stockfish is giving him the advantage at this point, but he lost he lost 2 pawns, 2 knights in this attempted attack. He's got 2 bishops left, 2 rooks, and a queen, 5 pawns. Still pretty good, but they're not very well developed at this point. This is where things went pretty badly. I guess this queen was attacking the knights. If you wanted to, that's not really good. Not the best tactic. But anyways, at this point in the game, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I gotta try and even the odds because I lost a rook, and I did not like that. I lost a rook, and I'm like, I gotta get even here. I'm gonna take out that rook. That's what I'm thinking at this point in the game. Again, this is how I'm thinking a couple moves ahead. At this point, when he made that queen move, that's where I'm thinking. Actually, I think I thought that before he made the queen move. I was like, you know what? There's a fork right there. If I can get him to move his queen, which he actually does, and as soon as he does that, I realize, oh, I can go for that fork. I can get my knight right here, and then feign attacking the queen. It's a fake attack. I wasn't really going for the queen. I was going for this. because I have fork, and it's a check and a fork, and that means you're forced to move the king and lose a rook. So right here, and the computer considers this a great move. And Bruce thinks, oh, he's attacking my queen. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to back my queen up. And he doesn't realize this right there. He's not thinking about any of this. Again, look at how the computer says the best move for him was that right there. Because, right there, you check my king. You force my king to move. And you're also not under attack at all right there. It's a strong position for the queen. And then from there, after you check, you can maybe move the queen right there. I don't know, something like that. Take that pawn because he's hanging, and just continue to destroy my structure. And there I go for the fork. Now, I want Bruce to understand this. Bruce might be thinking, dude, Chase is such a brilliant chess player. Look at this. How did he do that? He set that all up. Actually, I didn't. I didn't at all. I had no intention of this bishop taking that queen. I was like, I wasn't going, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this bishop up. Let's see what move did I put that bishop there. I'm going to move this bishop at move 11 to get all the way to move 22 to get his queen right there. Was not thinking about that at all. I just want Bruce to understand that I was not thinking that at all. I went for the fork to get that rook, and then I realized, and I was like, no, I'm not taking that rook right now. I'm taking that queen. I'd rather lose the bishop to a queen and maybe lose a knight to the king, which is actually what Bruce should have done. You should have taken the knight. Because when you didn't take the knight, you decided to take the bishop, who's really weak right here. He's doing nothing other than taking that queen. You lost your queen, but he's doing nothing other than that right here. Literally nothing. He's not a threat to anything. So there's no reason to take that bishop right now. You take him first, and then, maybe take the bishop. Oops. Yeah, see, the machine is like, no, don't do that. But again, he gets tunnel vision. He goes, maybe there's like a sort of like a rage moment, like a vengeance thing. Ah, the stinking bishop took out my queen. And so I'm taking that bishop out. And then you lost your rook. So you lost, I basically made it. So the trade here's the trade. The trade was, I give you a bishop, you give me a queen and a rook. You think that's a fair trade? No, it's not a fair trade at all. So Bruce goes for a check. That's a pretty fine move. That's fine and all. It's that pawn's hanging. And at this point in the game, I decided, okay, maybe I'll help Bruce out a little bit. I'll see if Bruce can see the potential win here. What was I thinking here? I'm trying to remember here. I moved my king here so that, so he would do that. My king moves there. And see how it swings back in Bruce's favor? See, just because you lost your queen, this is the thing. Just because you lost your queen does not mean the game is over. So you can just continue to put pressure on, because I've lost a lot of pieces too. I mean, a lot of pieces have flown off the board at this point. At this point, you promote right there, just like that. And now you're like back into the game. Now I'm in trouble. I could. I'm gonna realize I've got to get my king out of here, and I'm gonna go maybe right there, and then you could. You don't want to take that because you're gonna lose. You could check. I don't know, something like that. Machine considers that a blunder. Maybe that. It's also a blunder. Well, you take right there. Anyways, but you can promote right there, and then now you've got a queen. Maybe, you can try to chase my queen out by moving your queen right here, because your queen is defended while it's attacking my queen. Something like that. All right, so that's what he could have. That's what I was gonna see if he would do. So I did that just to kind of let's see what Bruce does. And then, ooh, that would have been nasty. King is in check right there. Yeah, then you lose a pawn. So I was gonna just go ahead and move right here and see, but I didn't do it. So right there he takes, and now I'm pushing the pawn up right here. The reason why I'm pushing the pawn up, because my plan is to get my knight right here. And you notice what Bruce does here. He does another one move blunder. I would consider this a blunder because Bruce wants to promote this pawn, so he's going to protect the pawn and keep me from taking it. The problem is he's also hanging. Look at that. You get so just tunnel visioned on something right here, and you're panicking. You don't know what to do, and you're like, I gotta protect my pieces, and then you're just hanging there. So I did not take that because I was just gonna see if Bruce saw some potential opportunities. But I started thinking, all right, well, I guess it's just time to end the game right now. Now I could have gone right here. I don't know why. That's not what I wanted to do. It's kind of a silly move. The point was to move the pawn here, so he takes, and then I take the pawn. And after that, my knight's protecting that, so then I would just take right there, checkmate. And that was the plan. Boom, pushes forward, boom, takes, checkmate's initiated. And there you go. So there's that game. All right, so I've spent too much time on that one. Looking at our Bruce and I's recent game here, which I won by time, I'm going to go back. Analysis. Just close that out. We can close all these out here. We're all done here. I've gone long enough here. Fairly standard, as the Stockfish bar is. It's just now it's kind of going back in Bruce's favor. I got a kind of sweet little setup right here. I think I castle eventually. No, I don't actually. I actually don't. I should have castled. I remember. I think I remember. I didn't castle because I was a little nervous about these knights here, what they could do. Because here's the thing about castling. Castling is good to do generally, but you also want to be careful because when you castle, while it gives your king a ton of protection, it also makes your king very static, and therefore. That's one of the reasons why I love when my opponent castles, to be honest with you. Because when my opponent castles, now I know that king's just going to be right here. He's not going anywhere. All I got to do now is just get in there. And that's basically it. All right, so I made a silly move here. And we've been over a lot of this already with Bruce. You can look at the other video where I reviewed the game at this point. This is where Bruce, again, got tunnel visioned. And didn't realize his queen was in danger, and he lost his queen. This is where I think Bruce makes the mistake. He should have taken with the bishop. He takes with the pawn. It's not terrible, but it's not great, because now your bishop's, again, stuck. You want to get the bishop into the game. Yes, he can get in the game kind of over here, but not really, though, right? I mean, the best place he can go here is there, and that's kind of doing something. If you push the pawn forward and then move the knight out of the way, then he's kind of looking at something. Or you push the pawn forward. Yeah, move that out of the way, and then right there. Now you're staring at that. That's pretty good. And then of course looking past that to the rook. So I'm thinking of getting my queen in the game now. Trying to think here. Let's see if I can remember. There was a reason why I didn't do that and attack the knight. It had something to do with this pawn. I don't remember exactly. Something about how I didn't want that pawn right there. That's why I didn't attack the knight. I just pushed straight past him. Anyways, I didn't move my queen out here because there was just not a whole lot of potential right there, so I just kept her right there. But so Bruce hasn't lost this game. Again, I told Bruce in the last game you could potentially be looking at this right here. You might lose the pawn, but I would then lose the bishop to your bishop, and now your bishop's staring down my rook and forcing my rook to move. And so I anticipate the fact that I'm going to lose the bishop and move my rook in place to get that pawn stuck so he can't promote. Attack the knights. See how look at this. Bruce, you don't have a queen anymore, but look at this. You still got the vast advantage in the game, according to Stockfish. You're up 9 points here, even though you're down 2 points in terms of material. He castles. It goes back in my favor to get his rook into the game. And I told Bruce, like, hey, that's a good move. You're trying to get your rook into the game. He goes for the check, moves my king out of the way, and then he does that, which is not terrible. It's not a terrible move. Not the best move either. This is what I'm thinking about. Again, I'm wondering if Bruce just goes, I just got to check his king into oblivion. That's what I'm doing. Checks are good when they're accomplishing something. That's not really accomplishing anything, though. I mean, your rook is protected by the knight and the bishop. Yes, that's true. Absolutely. Right now, your knight's actually he's hanging right now. This is not. It's sort of coordination, not a whole lot of coordination. It's sort of because even though the knight, the rook is being protected by the knight and the bishop, one of these pieces is hanging, and that's the knight, and so there's not a ton of coordination going on right there. And then he goes for this, and I'm thinking, is Bruce giving up a knight in order so I'd give up my queen? So he'd take my queen, like, so if we do that right there, if that's what he wants. But notice the Stockfish bar. It still has me winning. You have my queen, but I'm still winning. Why am I still winning? Essentially because you gave up a rook and a knight for a queen, and I got both my rooks at this point in the game. We're in the end game scenario. We're getting close to the end game scenario at that point. And so here again, I think Bruce's main flaw in chess right now is the tunnel vision. Is he gets focused on just a couple of pieces down here, what they're doing. And he forgets he's got another rook up here. He's got a bishop right up here. He's still got pawns. There are kind of a lot of islands over here. You start pushing pawns up. You got to get everything. And I'm doing hand gestures here on my screen so you can't see them, but I'm sort of hand gesturing the entire board. You got to get everything in the game, every single piece into the game, as much as you possibly can. And right there is, that indicates winner. I win by time. So this is for Bruce. Okay, just for so because at this point in the game, I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna help Bruce out, just see if he sees moves. And he might be thinking, well, I thought Chase was helping me out, and he's gonna give up his queen. The problem is that kind of thinking, once again, is I don't know if I want to use the word immature-ish kind of way of thinking of chess. It's just a very beginner's level, and you want to. I know we're both beginners, but we want to get out of that mindset. Simply losing the queen is not automatically losing the game, and we have to stop looking at the game as though the queen is the most valuable piece. It is not. It is actually the second most valuable piece. Your king is the primary piece. You got to switch those out. You got to think about my king is the most valuable piece. The king is, not the queen. So when you start thinking about that, then it's no longer always about getting the queen. Remember go back into when I reviewed the game where I won by checkmate with getting my queen up in this square right here, when Bruce blundered to got his queen right there. And the entire game, his queen was rendered useless. I didn't need to take his queen. I didn't even care about taking the queen. I was just like, I'm just wreaking havoc on all his pieces here. And his queen is rendered useless at this point. So I don't even need to take her. See, that's the point. Again, that's the point I'm trying to make. Simply taking the queen is not the end of the game. Is not the beginning of the end. It typically will make it a whole lot easier. But it's not the be-all, end-all, and we have to get out of the mindset. If just because I gave up my queen, didn't mean you're going to win. You were positionally not in a good situation here. This rook was much better. When I said you're getting your rook into the game, I didn't mean doing that. You should have just kept him right there. Reason why is because he's simply he's controlling this file, and that's where rooks are most powerful, is when they're controlling files. See, you notice that as soon as you do that, see how the bar begins to swim back in my favor, because you're using the rook in a way it's really not supposed to be used. These are long-range pieces. Same with the bishops, long-range pieces. This bishop, even though he's not doing any immediate checks, he's a powerful bishop because he's got a nice file right here. He's forcing my queen. You're keeping my queen from doing anything. just by having this bishop right here, just by having the knight right here, which you could lose easily right here. So you might want to reposition the knights. Maybe something like, I mean, look, there's a fork right there. See that? Fork. Boom. Boom. You got a rook hanging right there. Well, he's not hanging, but you got a rook right there. You could, again, sacrificing the knight, but you're sacrificing the knight for a more powerful piece. You're making a trade where you're going to win and I'm going to lose. The knights are worth, like, I think 3 pieces and some 2, 3. I know that rooks are worth more points than knights. So yeah, you're gonna make that trade. That's why I did that in the last game. I gave up my bishop to get a queen, because like giving a bishop for the queen, which is more powerful, the queen or the bishop? The queen is more powerful. So if I have a chance to trade a bishop for a queen, I'm gonna take that. I'm like, yeah, I'll throw away a bishop to get your queen. I'll throw away a knight to get your queen. Absolutely. Now, why doesn't it work in this situation? However, whoops. Why doesn't it work in this situation? However, because of the positions. Because you've just lost a queen, and again, let me just make sure we're clear here, so I'm not contradicting myself. Losing the queen is still bad. It's still not good. It would have been different. Let me just right here. Let's say I did, okay, we did that. Let's say you decided, all right, I'm gonna push forward. Like that, and then I do that. Look at that, so the reason why this is swung back in your favor like this, well, let's just assume the knight's not there. Then you can, boom, check. Boom. Or, boom. Like that. And now your knight's protected because of the rook, so my king can't take the rook either because this is beautiful coordination. Not only is this losing my queen, you're staring right at another rook, and at this point is when you give up the knight. Whoops. At this point is when you give up the knight. You go. Let's say I decide. All right, this is not good. I'm going to blah like that. Then you give up the knight, take the rook. You lose the knight, but look at this. You're in such a better position. I'm down a rook. You got 2 rooks. You got 2 bishops. I got 1 bishop left, and you can also promote right there. You're going to lose the promotion, but again, it's just there's a potential for a promote, right? Right. So there's a potential for a promote. You can leave that pawn there and just see that now I'm in a situation like, oh crap, I am stuck because, excuse me, because I'm forced in a defensive situation that's almost helpless. I have no choice but to basically push up forward because, and I got nothing really because now my rook, you have rendered my rook here in a purely defensive position to prevent you from promoting. So now I have to try to figure out how to attack with these pieces right here, while you still got 2 bishops left that can just hunt down the pawns and stuff like that. And you got a rook here that can hunt down the pawns, and then you can just start pushing pawns down, woof, and then push more pressure on. I can't stop all of these pawns with this structure. You're gonna get like 2 maybe promotions, and then it's gonna be bad. So that's how you want to coordinate. But just kind of these random checks, just it's not really accomplishing anything, and yes, the queen is the second most important piece on the board, but it also comes down to the structure. The structure of your pieces. I know there's a lot here that I'm talking about here that's like going to go over our heads a little bit here, but this is just really important for us to think about as we're playing chess. This is how chess is so much more complicated than we initially would think. So losing a rook here is not really going to benefit you, and that's why I did not do that. I didn't do that because I'm thinking, like oh, I'm just going to give my queen. Now I've got 2 rooks here with a bishop. It's versus your 2 bishops, so it's not terribly bad for you. You're not totally lost. You can see as the Stockfish says, but you're down a rook in the endgame scenario, and you don't really want to be like that. It's not really a good place to be. So anyways, I went way too long for this one. I apologize, but here you go. Here's this reviews of some of the games I played with Bruce. Take some time to listen to it, go over it and stuff, and I'll guess I'll catch you on the next video.